Hello everyone and welcome to another of my minimalist cooking videos. Today I have a beloved dish, chicken soup. I'm going to show you how to make this with a few simple ingredients, a couple basic tools, and a little bit of knowledge. So let's get started. Let's start off by taking a look at all the ingredients that we're going to be using today. I've already pre-washed all the vegetables as well as peeled the carrots and potatoes in preparation for the recipe. The first ingredient is 4 garlic cloves, 4 chicken bouillon cubes, 2 Thai chilies, which are optional, 8 florets of cauliflower, 4 potatoes, 1 large carrot, 2 stalks of lemongrass, 6 to 8 green onions, 2 to 4 tablespoons of corn flour or cornstarch, and of course 2 large chicken breasts. One final thought before we get started here. It's very important that you guys customize this to your own liking. This is what I put in the soup today. However, if you see ingredients here you don't like, take them out. If there's something you want to put in, feel free to add them. This recipe really lends itself to be customized. This is the joy of cooking, making it exactly the way you want it. To help you with a little bit of inspiration, let's take a look at some of my favorite ingredients that I add to my chicken soups. If you want to substitute the potatoes, rice, pasta, or squash make a good option. And one of my favorite dishes while living in Latin America is called sancocho. This is a dish of chicken soup made with cilantro, corn, yuca, and plantain. The ingredient list is up to you, so make sure that you add the things you like. As with any good recipe, we're going to start with the garlic. Here I have 4 cloves. To easily separate the skin, place the back of your knife along the edge and give it a firm smack with your hand. Make sure to keep your fingers curled outward so you don't slip and cut yourself. From here, we're going to dice it very fine. And we are going to be placing our ingredients into a large sauce pot to cook. Moving on, we need to cut up our potatoes. I like to begin by cutting them in half, and then cutting them into thirds, turning it to a right angle, and dicing them into little chunks. You're going for a size that will fit nicely on the spoon, as well as allow you to pick up a multitude of vegetables in every bite. While cutting, do your best to maintain an even size for the vegetables. This will make sure that everything is finished equally and at the same time. It's important to pick a size and stick to it. To cut the carrot, begin by trimming off the tip and the back end of the root. Then I like to cut the carrot in half so it's a bit more manageable. From here, I slice down the center, slice it into thirds, and then turn 90 degrees to there and dice into a fine chop. Your target is a size that will fit nicely on the spoon, as well as allow other pieces of vegetable in the same bite. Add that to the pot, and we're going to move on. Slice the cauliflower into 1/4 or 1/8 inch thick slices. Turn perpendicular and dice into a cube. Again, you're looking for that size that will fit nicely on the spoon with the other vegetables. Go ahead and start throwing that in the pot and move on. I prefer the more floral flavor of green onions, however, white or yellow onions will work just as well. Trim off the root end of each green onion, align them, and then begin chopping into 1/8 inch thick slices. I usually discard the last inch or so of the green part as it can get a little ratty. When preparing the lemongrass, you have 2 options. I'm going to actually cover both of them here now for you. The lemongrass needs to be prepared correctly because it can be quite thick, woody, and chewy if not done correctly. Both methods of preparation begin the same way. Begin by trimming off the bottom 1/2 inch of the root end. This will expose the layers. Handling this is not much different than a regular onion. The next step is to cut off the top portion. We are only going to be using the bottom third portion of the piece. The outer layers of this are actually quite tough and fibrous, so we're going to peel them off and discard them. Usually you want at minimum the outside layer, but I generally take the second layer as well off because I like mine to be nice and tender. Unwrapping these 2 layers, we are left with the core, which smells delicious. This is what we're going to use in the soup. The first method of preparation is going to be to dice it. In order to dice it, we need to break up the fibers. You can turn your knife over and smack it repeatedly with the blunt end of the knife. However, I find that if you place the knife flat and use your palm to smack it, again, fingers curled out, that works really well. With the fibers broken up rather well, we are going to make cuts the long way down the piece. Turn perpendicular and dice into a very fine small piece. Since these pieces are going to cook in the soup and remain in there when we eat it, it is very critical that they are ultra fine. The small pieces prevent anyone from getting a large, woody, and chewy stem piece. As you can see here, it is a very fine dice, smaller than you would mince garlic. This is exactly what we're looking for. This will be nice and tender in the finished product. Go ahead and throw that in the pot and we'll move on to method number 2. Just like method 1, trim off the bottom ½ inch, flip it around, trim off the top piece, peel the outside 2 layers so we are left with the remaining third of the bottom. Use the back of the knife, striking with the palm to break up the fibers nicely. However, this is where you want to stop. We don't want to cut into small pieces. We are going to place the entire piece into the pot and retrieve it later. Just like the lemongrass, you can prepare the chilies in 2 different ways. I'm going to go ahead and show you both ways to cut them up. First thing is to trim off the stem. If you like your chilies nice and spicy, all you have to do is trim them into about 1/16 of an inch thick slices, including the seeds and membrane, as I'm doing here. I'll move the diced chili to a plate as I begin on method number 2, which begins by trimming the stem as well. This method will remove quite a lot of the spice, however, keep intact all of the flavor. It begins by cutting this chili straight down the center by laying the knife on its side and going straight down the middle of the chili. You want to cut it down the center so it looks like you are separating 2 halves of a banana peel. From here, we can open up the chili, exposing the seeds and membrane. This is where all the heat lies. To remove quite a bit of the spicy heat, simply use the back of the knife and scrape out the white membrane and the seeds contained in the center, so all you have left is the pepper flesh. Repeat on the other half, removing all of the seeds and membrane, so you are only left with the flesh, which is red in this case, or could be green or yellow. This will have all the flavor and a tremendously reduced amount of heat. Dice just as before, place on the plate and reserve for later. And to round out, of course, last but not least, we have chicken. Here I'm going to be using chicken breasts. However, chicken thigh, chicken legs, any part of the chicken works really well. I prefer to begin by removing all the fat and skin in one big piece as much as possible. However, don't throw this away. This nice big piece of fat and skin is going to go straight into the pot. That's going to add a lot of flavor to the dish. A tremendous amount of flavor will render out from that chicken skin and chicken fat. And don't worry, we're going to go ahead and pull that out before we serve. That's why we kept it as one large piece. We are going to cut the chicken exactly as we cut the vegetables. We're looking for cubes that are just the right size to fit on a spoon along with other pieces of vegetable. Just like you can see here, that is a nice size. If you're using boneless chicken breast or chicken thighs, I recommend that you cut them into these small pieces as you can see and add them to the pot. However, if you're choosing to use a piece of chicken such as a drumstick, I recommend that you actually cook it whole. Just place the entire chicken drumstick into the pot, skin and all, and cook it whole. It does take a little bit longer, but it makes it easier to eat and does add a tremendous amount of flavor. Finish off the chicken and we are almost ready to add heat to this dish. Fill it with cool drinking water, at least to cover all the ingredients plus about a ½ inch on top. Then add the 4 chicken bouillon cubes into the mix. After a good 10 or 15 minutes on a high heat, the soup should be coming up to a simmer. Make sure to give the entire mixture a very thorough stirring so you can integrate and dissolve all of that chicken bouillon throughout the entire broth. If you found this video helpful or entertaining, please give it a thumbs up. Consider leaving a comment, subscribing to our channel, and make sure to hit that bell icon so you're notified every time we release a new video. After an additional 5 to 10 minutes of boiling, it is time for us to remove the lemongrass piece as well as the 2 pieces of chicken skin that we left in here. At this point, you're going to be very happy that you only have a couple of large pieces of chicken skin to pull out, and this is exactly why you don't want to cut it. It makes it a lot easier at this point to retrieve them. I'm going to simply use my 2-spoon method here to rummage around and find the pieces of chicken skin, pull those 2 out as you can see, followed by the piece of lemongrass. It has given up all the gusto that it can and given the flavor to the soup. It's no longer needed. We're going to go ahead and toss those in the garbage. Make sure to stir the pot every couple of minutes as it boils. You want everything to cook nice and even. I normally end up cooking my soup for about 15 to 20 minutes. Really what you're looking for is to make sure that all the chicken is thoroughly cooked through, as well as the vegetables being done to your likeness. Once we reach that point, it is time to thicken. In order to thicken the soup, we are going to add a cornstarch slurry. In this cup, I have dissolved 4 tablespoons of cornstarch in 2 tablespoons of water and mixed thoroughly. With the soup at a simmer, we are going to add the cornstarch slurry into the mix and make sure to thoroughly integrate it before adding more. I like to add it in 2 stages, doing half and then the other half to make sure that I'm not over thickening the soup. It's always a lot easier to add a little bit more of your slurry to make the soup thicker. However, if you add too much, it's quite a bit difficult to thin it out. And the other thing of note is that the cornstarch slurry will not begin to thicken until it has reached a complete simmer again. That's why you want to make sure to thoroughly integrate it so there are no lumps, allow it to come up to a simmer, and then test the viscosity. This thickness looks really good to me. However, you can absolutely leave out this step if you like more of a soup and less of a stew. I'm the only one in my house that likes spicy food, so I'm going to add these peppers directly to my bowl and then kind of bloom or blossom them with some of the hot broth. If you're doing this method, by placing the chilies into a bowl and then covering them with some broth taken directly from the boil, it gives the chilies a bit of time to soften and integrate their spicy flavor into the broth. I just siphon a little bit of that boiling broth off from the top and place it into my bowl with the chilies so that I can go ahead and stew for about 5 minutes before I eat. Pull the soup off the cooking side and allow it to rest for at least 5 minutes. Don't worry, it will stay rocket hot until you're ready to eat. The only thing left to do now is to spoon a few of these ladles into a bowl and eat. This is a wonderfully healthy dish filled with vegetables and lean chicken. Children love it, adults love it. It's a great way to get delicious vegetables into your diet. And that's it, guys. It's that simple. Just one pot to make this delicious dish and feed your family. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to check out my other minimalist cooking videos.